Welcome back to another Round 5 commentary with your boy Sparky. I'm here with my boy Victor. How we doing today, Victor?
I'm doing all right, man. I'm doing all right. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. Victor, I have brought you something amazing. Neither of these decks are Boros. Neither of them are uh, Mox Opal decks. Neither of them are Eldrazi decks. Would you look at this?
Yeah, I mean, I appreciate the fact that even though I was the one running the stream on Friday, that I have brought this to me. But I appreciate that from you.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Okay.
So that being said, I did feel that this was something a little
You can
bit
lead the
more.
viewers to believe that I have a little bit more influence on what goes on here. That'd be great, Victor.
One day, just not today.
Yes.
That being said, I was excited to see just a little bit of something else just going on. This is more for people at home to kind of just see more of the Prowess deck because that seems to be the current flavor of the month.
Yeah, this is good. This is a tale as old as time. It's aggro against control.
Yep, Beauty and the Beast would be proud. That being said,
less Stockholm syndrome, but you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, that too.
We got two people playing. One person playing a fast deck, putting comes into play, tap land into play.
Yeah, I think sometimes talking to Denis, he originally played a lot of Murktide, and I think sometimes the deck kind of reminds people of Murktide, especially with some of the card choices. But
looking at his hand, I mean, it was pretty slow. It was Corey Steel Cutter into Bauble here, which against blue-white control, knowing that they might have like Force of Negation and stuff, I'm not sure if this is a great line. I mean, it's paying off for him here specifically, but
it is tough because you want that creature to come down a little bit earlier just to add a few more points, because if you don't get in enough damage too quickly, sometimes you're going to get hit with Wrath, which has made a serious comeback in blue-white. And also the fact that Darian is playing the variation with Isochron Scepter and Four Arms Chance, which is really good against the deck for so many different reasons, right? Even just casting it for just the white. So like if Darian, like for example, I think he has one in hand, just sets a priority into a chant on your upkeep. First of all, it means you can only use your like lava darts or your bolts if you have any. Yeah. And you're probably only going to dart once, right? So if you only dart once, you're getting in 1 damage there, and then the creature will be, I believe, a 3/3. So you're getting in 4 damage, which isn't the most you can get out of an explosive turn. But just getting those turns where there's so few points of damage means that Darian's going to buy himself more turns to play, and that's where it makes it harder and harder for Denis to try to win. Though I will say that Steel Cutter certainly does make that a little bit easier, especially if it's not dealt with.
Yeah, I will say Denis got paid off on both of his draws. Like, he surveilled a Darcy to the top, and then off of the Bauble drew an Expressive Iteration. So he's in a good position. Like, his deck is rewarding him right now. This also might be a good spot, like, with the Darcy on the stack to cast the chant, so he can't play a second spell unless he's got an instant speed spell.
Yeah, which I believe he does. I think there is 2 lava darts.
But you're saving a little bit here because you're only taking the 4 damage, as opposed to like him maybe casting like a developmental spell of like Expressive Iteration or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, if Darian was going to shoot off the chant, it should have just been in the upkeep anyway, just to force Denis into a weird play pattern of, okay, if I want to cash in and get a little bit more value out of the Steel Cutter, I've got to go, dart or bolt, in some combination, right? Because that's certainly possible. But best case scenario, they just go dart, sacrifice mountain, dart, and they're down a land. Not that they need many, but sometimes that can matter.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Darian with all of his full art, so sometimes it's harder for me to recognize which ones are which, but he definitely has a chant and a pending.
Yeah, he's got a pending, a chant, a Lorraine revealed in our set, and I don't know what the 5th card is.
on your instead.
The nice thing about playing against Izzet Prowess specifically, I don't even think the Jeskai version has a 3-color thing, but you could easily just go get an island here, a basic island, pop the pending on the steel cutter, and then do whatever you need to just to kind of stop the bleeding.
Yeah, I'm interested to see how Darian stems the bleeding here. Denis also drew another Lava Dart, I think, for his turn. So he has another Lava Dart in hand, so he's representing a lot of damage next turn with some amount of prowess. On top of the expressive iteration. So we will see how far that gets him. It's really going to depend on what Darian's draw is and like what he's able to cobble together here. Although Darian can chant during Denis's upkeep, which I think is a solid play.
Since he drew the Preordain, I think Preordain into Chant Kicked is actually a pretty good one.
Yeah, I don't mind it, and I don't like the 2 cards he sees. It's I believe it's Ralgren Triome and then Pending. I think I would like both of those cards to go to the bottom. Does he have a Wrath of the Skies in his hand? Oh, I think he does. Or he's got a Supreme Verdict.
Pass.
Wait, why are we Lava Darting now?
Because if you want to, you can cash in. Yeah, okay. So Denis is just cashing in the extra guy, which with the iteration in his hand does mean does mean that he will get a little bit more of an explosive turn, but
not anymore.
This makes it awkward.
Is that the otter thing?
Storm Chaser's Talon, yep.
Yeah. Interesting.
There should be a 9. You Lava Darted me, right?
Oh yeah.
So this is either Wrath of Skies or Supreme Verdict. Oh.
On 2.
Yeah.
That's rough.
That sounds good,
brother.
Okay. Everything.
I mean, hey, from 3 to 4, that's the risk you gotta take.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't think. Luckily, Darian's at under 10, and the fact that you have iteration on this turn to start sculpting again, I don't think Denis is directly out, and he's got a Lava Dart in grave still.
Yeah, he's puts. Ooh, okay. I don't mind this. I think it's just talent pass.
Or was it?
So when it enters, they make a 1/1 otter.
Sure.
It has a few level abilities.
You should just put the prowess guy into play because it's the same thing.
We don't have otter tokens, right?
We don't have otter
Yeah,
tokens.
try to make an otter, but I like to represent what we can accurately. A monk wouldn't be correct.
I could tell Denis beyond a reasonable doubt that I would bet my entire paycheck that we don't have an otter token made.
It's good.
Nor is it in the box.
No, we didn't. But I gave Denis the hope of, I'm like, hey, go check. What's the worst that happens?
Yeah. I just think this is a weird one. I guess if you're replacing like one of the other like prowess dudes, like if you don't have Soulscar Mage, I could see running this. It also triggers all your stuff. Ooh.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not familiar enough with the deck to really offer much, but Darian is going to cash in some value.
You're playing
and he
out
drops
of
his spaghetti.
Yeah, playing off his lap like classic.
Here we go.
Mike Long.
Mike Long. Yeah, I don't know why I balked on that one.
I knew who you were going to say too, but I was trying to let you just have your moment.
Ooh, I really like this EI because you can Darcy and Bobble and then get a look. Don't. Why are you prioritizing? Oh, you have a Bobble in hand. That's right. Okay.
I will say this. I just looked up Storm Chaser's talent on Scryfall. $17 right now. That's crazy.
Yeah, apparently you don't play Standard.
I know.
It's one of the most ubiquitous cards in the format. It's seen a lot of play. Bless you.
Bless you.
Bless you again.
Hope the mic enjoyed that. I'm gonna.
We love it when they do it
Yeah.
into the microphone.
Yeah, unfortunately, there's no sneeze button that's available on the console, though we should probably add that in.
It's a possibility.
Just smash it
Ooh.
as soon as someone's about to.
Jace the Mind Sculptor. The
So
good
I
old
will
days.
say this: I was not a fan of Jace in. I was a fan of Jace if you're playing Miracles or if you're a couple weeks ago, but right now I feel like the format has gone under Jace again.
Right, I just played this. Yeah, I didn't do the trigger yet. Sorry.
I think T5 is a better card.
Especially if you're playing Orange Chant, because you just get to untap. You get the draw card and then potentially chant with Kicker for free.
Well, you need 3 mana to do that, but yes.
No,
You can-
because chant with. Oh, you're talking about if you have Scepter.
I'm talking about if I have
I'm talking about
Scepter.
it.
Yeah, sorry. I was 2 steps ahead of you.
Bye bye. I was excited.
Yeah, like listen, if I had at that point though, if I have Scepter with Chant, I'm just gonna go ahead and just do that until I have enough mana to do everything.
And then this is why I think using a lot of your lava darts early in this deck is a little rough.
In fairness, I understand the math probably if that turn goes uninterrupted is more damage overall.
Yeah.
I'm sure if we sat there and pulled out our abacuses, we could have figured it out. But
no, that's fair.
It was a risky play when you didn't really need to make your opponent sort of show you that they had it. You weren't going to get lethal anyway, I don't think.
Absolute dumpster.
I think this is just put back the 2 non-fetches and then use the fetch to find one of the cards.
I only put 2 on top.
Yep. Cheaters. Peter is not the only cheater on our stream, folks.
I'll give it to Peter. Not too many cheats this week, so
I saw you having fun with some of the deck names and stuff. So
you know what? If we're not here for fun, what are we here for?
Exactly.
I'm a fan. That puts me at 8. Not great. Not great, Bob. Not great.
We're doing okay though, Darian. I think all you need is a Solitude here, and you're in a good spot. I really would have liked to see him play a Narset this turn. I'm sure he probably is going to. Play a Narset, tick it down to 3, and let it sit there. But
I don't mind the looks, because one thing you could do when you have a Narset and a Jace online, you could also just set up like cards that are in your hand. But say you have like cards in your hand that you want to get rid of and also keep. So it's like an awkward brainstorm. You could just put like the one good card back, then Narset to go get the card again. So I know it's kind of a waste of a minus, but you also get to put everything else to the bottom.
Yeah.
You end up, sometimes you just end up with the exact card you really need in this moment.
Yeah.
Darian, I love you.
Imprint the orange chair. Oh yeah.
Well, this game's over.
Here you go. On your upkeep.
Yeah, unfortunately, to my knowledge, I do not think Prowess has a way to instant speed remove an artifact. So
No, and yeah, I think that's just about it. That chant did it. Narset into
Yeah.
Scepter into chant. Packs up game
I mean,
1.
Denis also should just at that point. That's when you have to kind of lock in the fact that I need to just get out of this, because now you're only hurting yourself at that point. The clock's not with you.
Like a dummy.
Oh, he just playing Kira too. How about that? Would have been nice.
Didn't even need it.
No, didn't.
Yeah.
I'm not.
It didn't, but like it's still.
So looking at a stock Prowess list, I don't believe Denis has slick shot show offs. I could be wrong.
Okay. I could see him
'Cause
running the standard card over that. Storm Chasers.
Because I think he has everything else except for the card that costs more than $50 in the deck. Oh no, Corey Steer Colors, $15. Oh
Yes.
man,
Yes, they are.
man, I gotta start putting up a savings plan or something if I'm gonna start playing these decks.
Says the guy who played 80 card Omnath.
Yeah, no, the name of the game against you.
We know you play
Now
with your
listen.
wallet.
You know what? Sometimes you just gotta show them what you're about. And
I
the
agree.
4-1 rings.
Yeah, and all 10 of the One Rings. I heard you own one of one. I heard you were one of the previous owners of the 1 of 1 ring.
Actually, I was, but then I didn't end up leaving the Shire with Frodo and Sam. I didn't get picked. Somehow Mary, Pippin were better choices. I disagree.
I think it's fair, but I'm also in the camp to disagree.
Sam was a good choice, right? We ended up voting for him as mayor. He was a great mayor. He was a fantastic mayor. So happy for him. Mary and Pippin could have taken it or leaving it. Felt sort of slighted in the voting process, but
strong agree here.
It is what it is.
Mm-hmm.
So
my main the main issue with these kind of matchups, ladies and gentlemen, is they're going to be a little bit of back and forth. Like, you're going to have Denis not draw enough creatures once Darian's played enough sweepers or enough removal spells, and then Darian takes over the game, or Darian's spells don't line up with how Denis plays his hands, and then we have a complete blowout on the other side. Luckily, Darian won the game he was on the draw, which is huge, with Orm's Chant coming in very clutch there. But we'll see if Denis boards in anything like Spell Pierce or some kind of like Flusterstorm effect to maybe stop some of these spells on his own turn. It should be interesting. I think Darian didn't sideboard any Rest in Pieces. Like, I think he just brought in the Wrath of the Skies and a Celestial Purge. And I think that boarding in Rest in Peace against the Prowess deck is very important. Flashing back the Lava Darts is big. Making sure Darcy doesn't get to a 3/3. And also making sure that, like, Violent Urge can't kill you out of nowhere is very important.
So I did agree with that at one point. However, playing it on Moto, I kind of forgot that Wrath is almost a little bit better. And a lot of times your rips are going to get eaten up by the Wrath of the Skies anyway. I don't know if it's... I'm just saying this is not a statement of fact. It just never felt like it slowed down the deck enough for it to matter instead of just having something else that maybe would have slowed them down more efficiently.
I think that's a fair assessment. I think that, like, a turn 2 Wrath against them, like, is going to eat up most of their Delirium. Like, it's going to eat up some number of fetch lands, some number of cards that are going to the graveyard over the early turns, and it just allows you, once you Wrath, for them not to have any kind of comeback strategy whatsoever.
Just for folks at home, you mean turn 2 Rip, correct?
Turn 2 Rip into, like, a turn 4 Wrath, yes.
Okay, just want to make sure.
Yeah. Denis super rewarded off of a bauble finding his second land drop. Sometimes you got to be greedy with these decks. I mean, he had a few looks at it with the bauble, drawing a card, and then once again with the Thundering Falls. He would have had looks at this second or third land drop. But it looks like he does have one of the slick shots. He at least has one slick shot.
Then never mind. Maybe I'm completely wrong.
He might not have 4. I think this is an easy... Ugh.
Yep.
This is odd here because I think if you just this could just be me, but I think if you just play the slick shot, or if you if he would have just plotted the slick shot last turn, he could have gotten in for possibly a bigger turn for more damage. I could be wrong.
Seeing his hand, I mean, he's got Spears.
No, that's a preordain.
I believe there's a Spears and a preordain. Yeah, there is. Now, here's where I slightly disagree. I think that Denis should have preordained to see if he could get the land and set up a little bit more instead of hoping that this stays around, which it might have. But since he's firing off on the...
It could have been worse for him, right? Because, like, there could have been an instance where, like, if this is the turn where he goes, like, Corey Steelcutter, then Slick Shot, then Bauble, then Mutagenic Growth, the blowout could have been bigger depending on what else was going on. I see a Force, a Land, a Teferi, and a Scepter. I may have boarded out one of the Scepters in this matchup.
It's tough though because I feel like Scepter's a must-answer card for them.
I agree,
to a fault, right? Because you probably bring it into the Flood Maw to deal with it when it's in play.
Yeah.
But until you see that card, you're almost like just sitting there, and that's not what you want to be doing.
Yeah, but not for nothing. Like, Darian's not doing anything currently. Right? Like, he has a lot of reactive spells for what he's got going on. Because, like, he didn't force anything that turn because there was nothing to force. It's pretty obvious there's some kind of reactivity based off of how Denis played that turn. Like, didn't play a preordain, didn't play anything else. Like, didn't try and, like, make his graveyard any bigger.
That's funny.
I mean, this Pierce is most likely going to snipe something decent, depending on what happens.
So it's 16 to 13?
Yes. Yeah, yep, 16, 13.
Worst case, if Darian hits a land, he's going to go potentially. If you're thinking about, okay, if my opponent has the best case scenario, they have land plus champ plus scepter, you can at least pierce them to blank a turn and then try to get as much value as you possibly can from that turn. All right, I guess Darian didn't want the land, so I guess he's got one. Oh, that's a nice little draw there.
So I'm drawing.
Yeah, draw, and I'm going to Surgical Solitude.
Surgical Solitude.
Trigger quick first. Keep that on the top.
I think that's a little late. I would have hit almost anything else.
Yeah, but I mean, between the two, well, I mean, to be fair, I guess Denis didn't have to.
Yeah,
he could have just waited. But I mean, it's good information.
I mean, the information he gets is just knowing what Darian's hand is, because like he did this all like after the draw step.
Yeah. 100%.
On Darian's side, looking at some of the cards he still had in his deck, I would have like gotten the Jace out of the deck. Like any cards that are like expensive, like even this Teferi, like those are the cards I would have cut for the rest in pieces. Because all your other cards are good in the matchup, and you want to like slim your you want to take your mana curve and shrink it so you can double spell while they're double spelling. Like whether you're playing a rest in peace and then have a counter spell for their turn or whatever it is. Like these 4 mana plays are just going to get destroyed by what your prowess opponent's doing.
Tap. Here you go.
And I mean, here's a turn where Denis could just win. Denis could just win this turn right here if he draws.
Yeah, from 13.
Yeah, well, theoretically speaking.
Oh, that's a good one. Interesting. Oh, because he preordained. All right, well. Goes himself to 12.
Delirium is online. First free instant artifact lands.
Yep.
Yeah, so it's currently 5.
Victor, I'm at 12. Just let you know. No problem.
And I think with the Violent Urge, 4, so it'll be 8, 11. Oh, you can put him to 2. And then you have him dead with the bolt on top of your deck.
I'm gonna counter that.
Sure.
And
now he's gonna go for the mana efficiency.
Sure.
Oh yeah, the Pierce. That's right.
Yeah, and now he's dead.
Oh yeah, I remember this moment. Yeah, because I was saying to myself, man, if he had just pitched one of the spells to it.
So what does that do if it's got delirium?
So it gets double strike.
Yep.
Yeah, because now it puts it at 13. So nice sequencing there from Denis.
Welcome back to your battle.
Yeah, and like that's what I was saying. Like you can just leave yourself at dead, given a certain situation. Darian's gonna play this time. If he can just go spell, over 3 turns, I think he might be okay.
Put this bubble VR. Sounds good. Castle Dragon.
Okay, I think that was a Corey Steelcutter as a draw from that.
Mm. I can't see everything.
There was a Narset, there's a Preordain, there's an ISO Scepter. I believe there is a.
Ooh, okay. I think here I'm topping because like I'm very close to setting up. Oh no, I can't because I have to fetch. Yeah.
Okay, kept the one. Or I
Those
kept
are-
both, but then.
If you're in a situation like Darian was just in, I think we fetch first and then preordain. Because then you get yourself in a situation where if you see the top 2 cards you want. Yeah, this is setting up the prismatic ending.
I'm going to attempt a prismatic ending the Dragon's Rage Challenge.
Sure, that happens.
Okay. And then it's your go.
Hey, you're gonna stuff gonna search.
Sure.
I'm gonna die on the hill that I think too many people put surgical extraction in their deck, and it doesn't need to be there.
There is the prismatic ending.
I mean,
there's just a lot of people.
Oh God.
There's just a lot of people who like put it in a deck, with the exception of like in a scenario like this, like, oh, I'm gonna stipe a spell and like I'll get some amount of information, but like now you've thinned his deck a couple cards where there's some extent of like now you left better cards possibly in the matchup, not so much the Teferi Time Raveler, but like you didn't want to see the Solitudes the last game. Now he's more likely to hit a Solitude, and he already got the use out of the one spell. Like I could see it. Like if he was stacked up with a bunch and you basically like mind twisted him for a bunch of cards.
You okay, Mike? Keep going.
Yeah, you're good. You're good.
I mean, I look at it this way, right? So your sideboard, granted, there sometimes can be arguably better cards. You shouldn't always play the cards that are best, especially if it doesn't always work with your play style or your thought processes a lot of times. So I think for Denis, I think he likes surgical because he likes being able to get the information, plus snipe a spell that he doesn't have to deal with. I get that maybe in an aggregate or in a situation where you're playing maybe like 15 rounds, maybe surgical isn't always going to be as good as you'd like it to be versus another card. But I think playing into your strengths is also not a bad deal either. Like for the longest time, if you remember the Cascade Beans format, I hated playing against Burn. I hated trying to figure that matchup out.
Sure.
So I made the choice to play Leyline.
Yeah.
Exactly. Was that a better card than what maybe some people would argue about in that deck? No. However, it plays into your strengths a little bit. So objectively, I probably wouldn't disagree. However, subjectively, if it plays to the strengths of what you feel more comfortable playing, I think you go for it.
I just feel like the card is suboptimal in certain instances, and I feel like the confirmation bias that people get off of it is just they feel like it's a free roll. Like they surgical extract something and then win a game and then assume that because they surgical extracted they won that game. Or I feel like that's mostly
it's a layered process, right? Because I mean, it does give Denis the information that he needs to maybe make better decisions out of his hand. Where if there's a situation where he doesn't feel as comfortable with the deck, because I don't know how many tournaments he's played with the deck so far.
This is his first.
I don't hate. Okay, well then I really don't hate it because seeing your opponent's hand. Granted, like it was prismatic, like the best spell you could possibly snipe. Maybe not, but it does give Darian less options to remove things. And again, information can be very powerful, especially if your level of comfort for what's going on isn't as high. So I don't mind it here.
A real island.
Yeah, I think that I agree with the statement. I'm just like I've seen so many people put Surgical Extraction and then like board it in every matchup. Like I'm like, just put it in your main deck. If it's that good and you need it in every matchup, just
Well,
main
it's
deck.
probably not main deckable, but
Yeah.
I do see what you're saying. I don't know if he's brought it in every matchup, but
I'm not sure. Like again, I'm not sure how many like outs he has in this matchup. I actually think his deck is pretty good without the card, right? Like he's the more aggressive deck out of the two. I don't know what his face down cards are. I actively dislike this sometimes.
Time to cast Ice Crown Scepter. Here you go. On your feet. No spells for you.
We're gonna bounce off.
Sure. So you're responding to me doing it?
Yeah, it'll still get cast.
Okay, so this just says exile, right? Okay.
not that that totally mattered. But
Something we will mention for the viewer: both players did forget to make the fish here.
yes, this was something that was missed, unfortunately.
So I hope that doesn't really impede what happens in the matchup. But we shall see what happens moving forward.
I believe this turn it would have been a tapped fish, correct? It's tapped.
Yes, yeah, the fish wouldn't
Yeah.
have
So
mattered.
okay. So this turn it wouldn't have mattered. So all right. So the fish would have been untapped.
Yep.
Counterspell, white card that I can't see.
So he has Isoground Scepter, Narset, Counterspell, and Solitude.
Got it.
Yes.
All right. I think if your hands counterspell. Oh no. Okay, he's gonna go for.
Those grow. Okay.
I also think
For
this
the
matchup
Solitude.
is not a very good Counterspell matchup either, unless you're on the
No,
block.
but there's only so many things you could take out before
Again,
you just
yeah,
don't.
no,
I
no,
mean,
yeah. I'm here with you on that 100%.
I mean, unfortunately for Darian, one of the things that can happen when you're playing control is you could see those more reactive cards that don't line up very well with how the game is playing out. Denis had this.
Sorry to cut you off.
Yeah,
No, you're good.
But for the people at home looking at the two violent urges in Denis's hand and a possible trample creature.
It is a definite trample creature because that Corey definitely gives a trample.
You're
Little dexterity error there from Denis.
I'm going to cast Violent Urge targeting my Vector Channeler triggers.
I'm going to respond to that.
Is Urge not an instant, or am I just unfamiliar enough with that?
It is an instant. I'm not sure why we're doing it at this point.
Yeah.
I have the Surveil trigger, Prowess triggers from all these guys.
Yeah, I would let him resolve these triggers first.
Well, if you're going to Solitude, you probably wouldn't want it to resolve because it's one less life.
Fair.
No, he's gonna do it on the Dragon Rage, so it actually doesn't matter there. But so never mind what I said to people at home. It wouldn't matter because it was on the RC.
Combat.
So in this instance, we would be able to soak up 3 damage. Because we could block, the Solitude can block a 3/3, and the fish could block a 3/3.
You don't have a first trigger.
No.
Okay.
So they'll trade, you'll gain 3.
But Denis also has an Unholy Heat in his hand, so he could have, instead of playing the Urge, Unholy Heated the fish. So there's a little bit of back and forth here on what could have happened.
Yeah, I think for Darian, unless it's a natural
That's a
Wrath
land.
of the Skies. Yeah, I just don't think he has enough gas left for anything to particularly
Yeah.
matter. No, actually, hold on. If he hits Wrath, he could do it for 0 and just hope that Denis can't go crazy. I mean, we
That's
know
true.
he can, but
Yeah,
based
it's
on his hand,
kinda
because it's
rough.
going to be
Pick it up now. Yep.
So.
Oh.
Ugh.
So the otter token is not affected by the weird deck.
4.
Well, I think that's.
I guess I kind of have to.
I mean, you've got to get the Wrath. You have no other choice.
Sure.
I mean, the worst thing that could happen is if Denis draws a land.
For 0.
Tokens die.
Trigger.
What? So he's going to go probably Darcy Heat.
Because he can play Darcy,
two?
he can heat the Narset, and then he gets the guy, and then he can urge the guy and kill Darian.
Here we go.
Oh, I see. And hey, there's that exact thing you just said.
Yeah.
Sure.
But
Heat Narset triggers.
Sure.
I mean, we still would have been. It still would have been lethal, possibly. Well, he would have been at 9. I don't think this is.
This is going to be 2.
I think it's only 8 total.
Yep.
Yeah, because he probably would have heated the fish. The Narset would have stuck around. If he does this line, he like violent urges the Darcy and then urges the other thing. I'm not sure. We'd have to play through those lines, but we shall see. Again, that's one of those things that like the players need to be aware of.
Wait, did you kick it? Wait,
This is where we have.
This is where we.
So we'll let that play
Yeah.
out, and folks, we will see you in the next one.
I have to give you a fish.
Yes.
Yeah.
I thought I was supposed to have a blocker this entire time.
That's my bad. My stuff dead actually.
Doesn't matter because it's still. And there was other things that didn't have trample. That I could have blocked.
That's on me then. That's
Yeah.
It should be noted that both of them drew
my bad. I'm sorry.
for prize support. Thank you for joining us today. Don't forget to like and subscribe and ring that bell. And if you'd like to support us, you could find us at our Bonfire store.
And a huge thank you to our sponsors, Nova Games and Brick, for hosting us for FNM. And please make sure to use our Mana Traders coupon code OCHM at sign up for 25% off your third month.
I've been Sparky. Say goodbye, Victor.
Goodbye, Victor.